Welcome to the 8 a.m. news. We have sent reporters all around the world back in time to learn about the economy during Industrial Revolution. Thank you.
Thomas Avery, Thomas Newcomen, James Watt, and Extra. Today we will be traveling back in time to interview Watt. Hi Watt.
Hi.
When were you born? Please specify your of birth location.
I, James Watt, was born in 19 January 1746, Greenock, Scotland, in the United Kingdom.
What was your main accomplishment?
I improved on Thomas Newcomen's in 1712 Newcomen's steam engine with my Watt steam engine in 1781.
Please explain your steps for the improvement on the previous steam engine.
In 1763, I was asked to repair a model Newcomen engine belonging to the University of Glasgow. There was one problem that makes steam engine to waste thermal energy. Afterwards, I created a new way to make the steam engine work better, which also benefited the industrial system later on.
What were the impact on the factories?
The improvements that I made helped the factories to easily manufacture and do installation. It practically influenced the Industrial Revolution the most in a positive way. The motive power made whole new classes of industry economically viable and altered the economies of continents. Additionally, it brought about immense social change, attracting millions of rural families to the town and cities.
How can it be related to the economy?
Improved steam engine practically improved on the manufacturing system, which made the production faster as many products were produced. The prices of goods become cheaper, and it immensely impacted on the economic market in a positive way.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Economic Times. Today, reporter Williams is going back in time again to interview Cornelis Vanderbilt in 1863.
Where and when were you born?
I was born on May 27, 1794 in the US, New York more precisely, Staten Island.
What was your main accomplishment?
I think my main accomplishment was my first investment into shipping. When I began my own business as an entrepreneur, it began my success and my fortune. I controlled the transport industry of America.
What did you do to make this fortune?
Although I was born into the lower class, with determination in the social and economic mobility of America, I was into middle class.
Elaborate on the transportation industry of yours, the railroads.
Step by step, I started lines between New York and the surrounding regions. First, I took over Gibbons Ferry to New Jersey, then switched to Western Long Island Sound. By connecting all those different states, trade boosted, and it spurred on globalization, the spreading of information.
Do you consider yourself as a robber baron?
I wouldn't use that term exactly. Sure, I earned enough money and profited of the markets, but I wouldn't call it unscrupulous myself. I seized the opportunity and the moment. On the way, I did things I may regret. That's what I would say.
With the growth of economy and the development of capitalism, Mr. Cornelius Vanderbilt profited off these new technologies of transportation, such as railroads and steamboats. He monopolized the American transport system, becoming the biggest business for transport. By controlling the industry, he was able to raise stock prices and spurred on the American industry. Sure, some could call him a robber baron.
This is the 8 a.m. news of Economic Times. I am the main reporter of today. Today, William will interview a professor of the Soviet Union.
Hi, I'm William.
Hi, William. Can you tell us about the situation there?
I'm here now in the Soviet Union in 1939, when capitalism was the most common ideology of West Europe. That was when disagreeing to the exploitation of the labor force, the idea of socialism arose. Let me pass this topic to history professor, Miss Shin. Welcome, Miss Shin.
Hi. Here in the Soviet Union in 1939, Stalin has the power. Stalin believed in National Socialism, meaning the politics should be more concentrated in their own country itself. The ideologies were all based on Marxism, the basic idea that people should be equal and have economic security.
Because I am from the future, I know that books will be inspired by this struggle. Stalin and Trotsky are clearly depicted in The Animal Farm, which gets published in the future of October 1945. Animal Farm will taught us about the conflict of power. It shows social tendency towards class stratification and danger of a naive working class.
Very interesting. I was hoping to read a book that criticized the dictatorship.
Well, you'll have to wait 6 more years for that. So how did Russia even become a socialist country?
There are many factors that influenced the creation of Soviet Union. Workers' strikes and uprising in the Industrial Revolution, influence of science and enlightenment, and Marx's critique of the economy. Marx believed that the private property was the product of alienated labor. Therefore, the outcome of his thinking was to produce goods directly for the use by workers, in contrast to the capitalism societies where goods are produced to generate profit, leading to a big gap in social status. In the Soviet Union, workers themselves or government owned and controlled industry.
Thank you, Ms. Jin.
Thank you.
Good morning. Today we'll be going at Cornell University and we'll be interviewing Mr. Anderson, a history professor during Industrial Revolution about capitalism. Welcome, Mr. Anderson.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Could you please tell us about the capitalism during Industrial Revolution?
Definitely. Capitalism is an economic and political system in which a country's trade and industry are privately owned for profit rather than governmentally owned by the public. In the mid-18th century, industrial capitalism began in England with the accumulation of vast amounts of capital. And because Britain's population needed basic commodities of the market, it created a mass consumer market. With the development in the factory system of manufacturing and division of labor, there was boosted productivity, which started the Industrial Revolution.
What economic and social change did Industrial Revolution bring?
Industrialization rapidly accelerated. By the 1800s, people could earn high wages in urban factories than in agrarian farms, and this drew in millions of job seekers. Though poverty was imminent, enormous amounts of wealth were created, belonging mainly to factory owners, shippers, and merchants, a growing middle class. The creation of the middle class transformed the social structure entirely.
Could you elaborate more on the effect of capitalism, especially for the working class?
While many critics accuse markets and capitalism for making life worse for the poor, this criticism lacks historical facts. Capitalism is the largest poverty lifter in both time spans of decades and centuries. As today, the number of people in poverty globally is less than half of it is in 1990. This is exactly what is happening in China. Take a look at Shenzhen. It has become a metropolis with a growing economy due to its free economic zoning. In less than 30 years, the economy of Shenzhen has surpassed 338 billion, besting even Hong Kong.
That is incredible. How did capitalism do this? Could you please explain to me and to our viewers the concept?
Definitely. A perfect way to explain this is the trickle-down theory. The idea that as the rich get richer, the money will eventually trickle down to the poor. With more money, the rich will buy more commodities, and these commodities will create jobs for the poor. With the change from rural to urban and the increased wages and population in factories, objects became cheaper, and the people can buy these objects with their earnings. This becomes a cycle of economic growth. Drastic changes emerged. Even the richest aristocracy centuries ago lived worse lives than the poor today. With liberty and innovation, poor lived in comfort and dignity. If anything, capitalism makes the poor overweight via pre-capitalist malnutrition. Capitalism is good for the poor.
Thank you, Professor.
You're welcome.
Thanks to all the reporters travelers that traveled back in time to learn about the economy during Industrial Revolution.
We can really see the progress unfold as we learn about the steam engine, American railroad, the socialism ideal, and a capitalism overview. We sincerely thank you.